on this week's episode of Tides of Lore.
Do we know of these?
Why do you think
I've never seen this. I've never seen these.
Their sheer chillness has pushed them through the cataclysm.
A little dull for a demigod.
Apparently they don't want to die. Kind of cringe, if you ask me.
This druid seems mind controlled. What the heck?
Sounds like something that somebody who betrays people should probably have in their possession.
Don't we hate? I guess we team up with some of them.
The blessing, you realize, is very much real, yet twisted by circumstances, not given to a loon's faithful champions, but to the Horde.
For the Horde!
Every episode of Tides of Lore is made possible by our amazing Patreons. Thank you so much to Xander Harris, Jake Hilpert, Pewter City Gym Leader, Arulianis, JT Tech, Johnny Clash, The Away Fan, Insolent FTW, Bubba BSE, Arez Jerry, Watto21, and Mo. Your guys' support truly means the world to us and helps us to expand this channel far further than it would have ever been able to reach before. If you would like to join the Tide, consider joining the Tide at patreon.com/tidesoflore. Hello everybody and welcome back to the 52nd episode of Tides of Lore. My name is Robert Silva. I am one half of your host team, joined as always by my good friend Tim. How we doing this week, Tim?
Pretty good, man. I mean, it's power week for definitely me, for you too, just with our day jobs. Well, I guess yours isn't a day job. So, I'm tired, but I've been trying to still stream. There's been a couple nights that I haven't been, but check out the stream. We're on everything right now. We're trying out multi-streaming, but doing some hardcore rogue, and I'll play my hunter from time to time as well. And it's all right. I've been playing remix as well, getting all the things, all those cool cloaks, leveling a priest because I don't have a priest. But yeah, man, just been trying to stay sane with the holidays and how busy it's been. What about you?
Yeah, I've mostly been working on the podcast and stuff to prepare for the next week that is to come, so that we're in a good position, not stumbling again as we do make our way through. Yeah, this pretty tough week for anyone who deals with basically any industry that sells things, right? I mean, this is just industry day for America. Thanksgiving died.
Yeah. Hey, at least I have off for Thanksgiving. That used to not be a thing.
I got the night off. No, I mean, you know what? Fuck it. I'll shade Best Buy. I don't care. Fucking them used to making me come in at fucking 3 p.m. on Thanksgiving Day to open the fucking store early for Black Friday is the dumbest, most illogical, fucking fucked up thing you could possibly do.
Well, they stopped doing it.
They only stopped doing it because the pandemic forced them to, and they were like, you know what, we actually didn't lose that much money. Anyway, thanks for all the years of paying me, Best Buy. Hopefully that's not too much to get some sort of cease and desist from you guys or some shit. But I've been up to, mostly that. I've been getting back into playing WoW. Started up a warrior. I've decided, because we were kind of bouncing around in our head, I was like, do I want to play my mage going into TBC? They've announced it's coming now. I didn't really feel like it. I was looking at the mage, and I was just like, I leveled you this far. You've reached the part of the game where I'm really not having all that much fun. And I think the answer that it has been whenever I've encountered something like this in my life, especially with gaming, is to just approach it from a completely different way. And to do that, I'm going to play warrior going into TBC. Because I don't usually play warrior. This hardcore was the first time I've done it, and I've basically been carried by our shaman the entire time. So, back when we played Borderlands, and I was like, I don't know, I played it the same way so many times. Did melee only. Tons of fun. Completely reinvented how I approach Borderlands and how I can, have fun with that game. And now, hopefully, approaching TBC as a warrior will be something similar. Because it's definitely a different challenge compared to playing casters, specifically mage, so.
Are you tanking or DPSing?
I mean, I think I should tank. I don't think I want to tank like raids though. I think I like hitting things hard at that. I don't know. I don't like having the reliability of that. But at the same time, I don't know. Maybe I just don't have the confidence yet.
Well, there'll be dual spec.
I'm pretty confident in it.
Tank in dungeons and then DPS in a raid with dual spec.
And also I'm not pressed about it. Like I almost always think about Classic now from a hardcore mindset, and then it took so many times of approaching it this time without being like, sometimes it's okay to run back to. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. I've been reading, or I've been rather listening to the new audiobook for the Midnight prequel novel. So I've been listening to Blood Ties. I'm about, I think, 7 chapters into that novel. I could be wrong on there. I think it's pretty good. I'm really fascinated by it. I think I'm probably going to do a more thorough, like, actual review of it and how I kind of place it amongst other WoW novels that have been released. Definitely without Tim, just because Tim can't have those spoilers. He only looks at the data mined spoilers.
Reddit spoilers.
But yeah, gotta save that lore. Yeah, nothing like getting the information from Reddit, the most reliable source.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I'll give you guys a more thorough rundown of how I feel about that. But so far, I'm digging it. Though I will say, I did not realize that the voice actor for Eredor the Redeemer, both in the game and in the audiobook, is Sasuke Uchiha from Naruto. The English voice actor, at least. Yuri Lowenthal, I believe is his name. And yeah, as soon as he started speaking, I was like, oh no, Sasuke.
Does no one like him, Sasuke? Or, I don't know. I'm not an anime guy.
He's such a real hit or miss character, but he's definitely like the epitome of what edgelords like kind of built their identity around. And I say that in the most respect as somebody who adored Naruto growing up. So yeah, I've been really enjoying that novel. You get more information about that. Probably going to be done with it by next week, so you'll probably have that video sometime next week or, obviously when I have more free time. But it did get me curious. We've been asking questions during the start here. You guys have been awesome in responding to those questions. So this week I was really curious. We've gone over a lot of the books. I would say probably like 75% of the books that are available in the Warcraft universe already, for the most part, in the podcast. So what are your guys' favorite novels? If you have read novels or just the short stories or audio short stories that they've released, like what are your favorites that you've listened to? And if you're not really still well versed in what those are and where the lines are drawn in them, just give us what your favorite cinematic is. Like, I'm pretty sure all of you know what your favorite cinematic is. So yeah, go ahead and drop that in the comments. I'm really curious to see what some of your guys' favorite entertainment that Blizzard is putting out is, or has put out rather, is, has really resonated with you. But also, we did have another announcement, didn't we, Tim?
Oh, we made the guild. Yep. Tides of Lore, Moonguard Alliance. Of course, it doesn't matter what server or faction you are anymore, but that's the server and faction that we are if you want to, just be on the same server as us. I mean, getting ready for midnight, the housing is going to be cool. So, we are definitely going to be making a neighborhood, trying to build a community on retail. To be fair, I do jump around from version to version. So if we want to make other guilds in other versions of the game, we can, but we're starting with retail. That makes the most sense, I feel like, to start with. So Tides of Lore on Moonguard.
Tides of Lore Moonguard. Send in your request. I think probably one of the easiest way that you'll be able to get it. Like if you do want into the guild and you just can't seem to find the guild or whatever, go ahead and shoot us a message over on the Patreon as well. We can do our best to get you all sent an invite if you are on or whatnot. But yes, this is our first step. I do think we are going to probably set one up on Night Singer, or Night Slayer, rather. Moving into TVC as well, just because our guild's not really too active.
That's a great point. How are they going to reach out to us to get in the guild?
Well, that's why I think ideally we'll have it set up through.
We need to make a Discord.
Yep, and then that is
then
the
you
next
can just
step
join
of
from the
uniting all
Discord.
of these things.
So maybe we wait to announce this until we make a Discord. I don't know.
No, we'll have a Discord up by next week. How about that?
There we go.
Cool. All right. Well, things are moving. Guild fans, Discord fans, prepare yourselves. But yes, Tides of Lore, Moonguard, join us. But I believe that is all that we got going on for us last week. Last week in the podcast, we ended up discussing a few more zones as we made our way through the Cataclysm. Specifically, we talked about the Southern Barrens as well as the Thousand Needles. What do you remember about last week's episode, Tim?
1,000 Needles is underwater. There's a party yacht, a pleasure palace. I don't know what you want to call it. Floating around. If you go swim underneath, you can see, what 1,000 Needles used to be, which is pretty cool. The Grim Totem, didn't we fight him? again,
We fought some more Grim Totem,
which
yep.
is crazy because they were there before. They were on the mountaintops or the plateaus, the mesa rises, and I guess they're still there in Cataclysm. That's the main things I remember.
Yep, I mean, we end up fighting with the Grim Totem again. We actually end up fighting with the Twilight's Hammer Cultist for one of the first times in the Horde campaign. The, like, fanatical fans of the old gods and followers of Cho'Gall and, you know, all of their Hour of Twilight sadness. And we actually end up freeing Magatha Grim Totem during the end of this quest, as well as giving her access to this artifact known as the Doomstone, which I'm sure that'll be completely fine and won't have any problems in the future, right, Tim?
It sounds like just a casual item. Yeah.
Sounds like something that somebody who betrays people should probably have in their possession.
It's like a paperweight.
Oh, and also, I actually forgot to mention, we discussed the Duskwallow Marsh, and we talked a lot about, mainly, I think the story that was important there was the ogres there, the Stone Mall ogres, and how they are technically part of the Horde. And we do this whole quest line how their current leaders are being lazy. We fuck them up. We're like, don't be lazy no more, and kind of reaffirm, like, you guys are still with the Horde. Not playable, though. And the biggest, most important storyline, Tim, Tony Two Tusk died.
Hey, yo, Tony!
Tony!
I mean...
but not for long. We did some witchcraft, and he's all right. He's back on his own 2 feet. Death is merely a concept to someone as powerful as Tony Two Tusk.
Wasn't he a pirate?
He was.
Yeah, most pirates die young. I mean,
this isn't even his first time. No. But yes, that's what we discussed in the podcast last week. Last week, you guys had a few comments for us. Unfortunately, last week, the latest episode has yet to be released and yet to acquire any comments. So, the video that was released last week was our 1-year anniversary special, the Smasher Pass for every notable WoW character in the universe, which is all that we have to draw our comments from. And, Tim, what comment did you want to highlight?
my own. Why wasn't I in there, dude? Where's the pick of Timothy Warcraft?
You're right. And I should have just labeled you as the main player character.
Yeah.
Timothy, I need a really good photo of your paladin, and I'll just Photoshop him to look like a fucking god.
There we go.
Preferably sexy. But yes, I wanted to highlight Narwhal Guy 215 saying unironically top tier Warcraft content. The sheer force that I felt from every long pause is indescribable. And yeah, I mean, I wanted to approach the video without giving really any context to why I made the decisions, and also obviously to, actually get through it in somewhat of a timely manner, but that leaves you at times just sitting there crunching the numbers in your head, and you're like, no, pass, I can't do it. It's just bones resurrected. But actually, I told my fiance I was doing it, and she was like, cool, I want to do it. And I was like, oh. So guys, get that video some likes. Show the people, show me and the rest of the people that you want to see more fun content like that, and maybe we'll make that happen, as well as perhaps Timothy Warcraft one day will do his own Smasher Pass.
We'll see, man. You got to get some likes going.
You guys have been killing it on the support over there, I should say, though. But that is all that we have to discuss for last week. Making our way into the story this week, we are continuing our questline beyond the Stone Talon Mountains, as if you were to go into the lands of Desolace, which we've discussed kind of briefly once before back in episode 6, where we talked about the origins of the Centaur. But we're going to talk about it in a lot more detail, so let's hop into that. Hey, Tim, did you know that Tides of Lore is a Patreon now?
Oh, yeah? What do I get if I throw some support on Patreon?
You'll get ad-free episodes, a member shout-out, live stream access, and exclusive VODs, the full package.
So basically, skip the ads, get your name in the show, and help us keep telling Warcraft stories?
Exactly. Join the Tide at patreon.com/tidesoflore. Tim, how much do you know about the Cataclysm revamped Desolace?
I mean, I've flown through it. There's a big tree. So we talked about Desolace and how there was in Mordon, there was this nature trying to come out, and after the Cataclysm, you can see this tree. Instead of it being a desolate desert, there's this tree that's formed, and it's sprawling with life, it seems. But that's all I know. I don't know like why it happened, how the tree became. But I just saw it's there.
Yep. And I mean, I think for the most part, that was the extent of my knowledge about what's going on in Desolace. I would say Desolace is one of these zones that kind of gets 50-50 revamped in the Cataclysm. There's a handful of the quests that you'll still recognize to be pretty much exactly the same from the original release. And now, yes, we have a much more significant story built around this, both the Horde and Alliance conflict, kind of the Horde's lines reaching down from Stone Talon and the Alliance lines reaching up from Feralis and the, what was that called? Feathermoon Stronghold? Yeah. So this is currently what's kind of going on in Desolace, is the conflict between the Horde and Alliance. But yes, also you have the Cenarian Circle, who doing their thing. They're trying to make nature thrive basically anywhere that they can. So let's get into how that all happens. Starting with where we last left off, with High Chieftain Cliffwalker being like, yeah, I'm going to stay here and try and heal this grove over in Stone Talon that's been nuked into oblivion. There's nothing left for you here. Go ahead and carry on into Desolace. You should seek out this blood elf named Furion. Apparently he's looking for some allies. He's got this whole big mystery that he's been trying to solve. And I think that a man of your talents might be able to get that done. So you're like, cool. This place is depressing. I'll go to somewhere that's a lot more cheery. So you make your way over to Desolace. And as the world becomes stone and silence, this land feels wounded and forgotten. And as you walk along the edge, you find a Dragonhawk kind of flying pacing anxiously over scorched dusk and scattered arrows, as you find Furion, barely conscious. You kneel beside him. Arrows and spell burns scar the ground next to him and his body, evidence of the ambush that brought him down. And he's like, hey, don't lie, man. Flew a bit too close to the Alliance. They shot the fuck out of me. They hit me with that Netomatic, and they jumped my ass.
I love the Netomatic.
So, I know, I thought...
Watch someone fall to their death, dude.
BFA had a lot of terrible decisions with their design. The Netomatic was not one of them.
Was that the first time?
Awesome. I'm pretty sure, because I'm pretty sure you got it for completing the war campaign quest within BFA. I could be wrong, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure. And then they started introducing more and more throughout. But he basically is just like, I'm gonna die. There's nothing you can do to save me. You should go tell my sister back at our little camp that I'm dead. And if you're really feeling about that life, maybe help us out a bit. And you're like, well, 30 silver? All right. If it's your dying wish and 30 silver, I suppose I can help you with this. He's like, you can even take my Dragonhawk. You're like, cool. Die in peace, brother. So he perishes. You hop on his Dragonhawk, you fly over to this next outpost known as Furion's Post. Bit egotistical. Where you find Farstriders and Sindori casters standing watch, their attention fixed on the shifting Alliance position inland, and at the center of this camp stands Cerelia, Furion's sister, and you go to deliver her this news, and her reaction is not some restrained grief, but heartbreak that is immediately shaped into rage. Her voice cracks as she then says that they must pay all of them. And you're like, understand, 30 silver? Okay, all of them. So you're like, cool, I will help you out with this. And she begins to tell you more about what he had been doing in his life and how perhaps this can actually lead to revenge for her brother. And you're like, okay, well, let me see what I can get done with that. So she tells you, she's like, Furion had been tracking these ancient relics in the eastern ruins called Sargeron. These artifacts have been tied to these old powers buried beneath Desolace, and if his killers are to suffer, the completion of his work should be finished. So she sends you to go meet up with this other Blood Elf scholar by the name of Sorum, and you go. And Sorum does not grieve the same way. He's just like, anyway, let's keep going on this project, I guess. Like, he had been really consumed with that in his final days. As a matter of fact, just before he died, I had managed to get a hold of his journal. So let's check that out. And you're like, okay. So you check it out, and it is absolutely the writings of a madman. Completely encoded Angular script with no cipher, and it is seemingly completely illogical. And I imagine the scholar reads it, and he's like, And that's your problem now, as he closes the book and hands it to you. Looking at you, wielding your axe, probably half naked, cloth shoulders on. And he's like, yeah, you look like you could solve this. But yes, he instructs you. He's like, take the journal, go speak to the flight master responsible for Furion getting to and fro across these lands, and perhaps we will continue to be able to figure out what he was doing. So you go. He actually calls Furion's Dragonhawk to you, and he's like, hey, he'll take you along his final path, and perhaps if we follow the route that he followed, we'll be able to figure out what happened to him. So you're like, all right, cool. You set off, and as you begin to make your way over this quiet rise, overlooking this ancient Kaldorite shrine, partially reclaimed by the brush and vandalized by time. Resting amongst these stones is a set of ancient tablets. And the runes are really worn, but they're readable. And when you compare their markings to the journals, something shifts. The patterns seem to align. Characters echo with one another, and the meanings begin to surface. As you realize that Furion had been using these tablets as his cipher, as a key to begin to understand these runes, and it says this connection between ancient Elunite dialects. Also, the name Elunite is fucking sick.
I was gonna say Elunite? Wait, so disciple
like Elune, yeah, like an Elune disciple.
Do we know of these?
Why didn't they use
I've never
that
seen
name?
this. I've never seen these.
I think it's just to describe a general like catch-all term for races that descended from like Night Elven origin. So the Highborn, the Nightborn, Blood Elves, so on and so forth. At least that's how it makes sense to me. Anyway, but still, they should use that term more. That's a fucking cool name. But yes, your gaze shifts to the jagged silhouettes of Sargeron's greater ruins. The journal's sketchings match the horizon almost perfectly, so you follow the path that Furion once traveled, passing through these toppled archways and these collapsed stairways and corridors now infested with satyrs, filthy demons, corrupted inheritors of what was once sacred grounds of this vast Elunite complex. So you make your way through these shrines, sanctuaries, cathedrals, each one of these once completely filled with devotion in worship to the moonlight goddess. Furion identified 3 key sites that he believed central to the mystery: a cathedral in ruin, a temple ruin, and a sanctuary ruin. So one by one, you visit each, mapping their remnants to the coded journal, and beneath the satyr's desecration, you feel the pulse of a forgotten history. And with each of these that you inspect, the journal becomes clearer and clearer. These symbols that were once completely inscrutable to you now spark recognition as if you've almost known them your whole life. And Furion was tracing the fall of this entire complex, the history of how everything changed, the transformation that turned this place into despair. And his sketches reference rites of offering, purification, and circulation of moon-blessed water. One illustration in particular guides you to a plateau where you find a stone handmaiden of Elune, her arms poised above the basin, and the journal notes describe a post-battle rite in which weapons taken from the enemy were cast into the basin to earn a divine boon. And you understand that this is not just a statue for decoration, that this is a ritual key, and one Furion must have tested himself. So, near the basin, the sharp glint of steel draws your attention to a rack of overflowing satyr sabers, and you're like, perfect! It's almost as if this was drawn up to be this way. So, you head over to these weapons, you start throwing them in their bags to prepare this ritual. But despite this, you know that just collecting weapons, that's not a battle. You can't earn some prestigious right from a goddess through just collecting gear. You got to go earn it. So you have to earn the blades torn from the satyrs and their bodies as well. So you go, tear through these corrupted creatures who are now haunting these halls, and you return with a nice blend of regular and blood-soaked blades that you've claimed, and you toss the sabers into the stone basin as a surge of divine power ripples through you, as if the handmaiden acknowledges this offering, and the blessing, you realize, is very much real, yet twisted by circumstances, not given to Elune's faithful champions, but to the Horde. And you begin to ponder if Furion understood what the goddess would think of such an inversion of her power. And I'll be honest, I was like, you could just play a god like this. You could just be like, hee hee.
Yeah. How does that work?
Apparently, Elune does not have... She can't see that far. She's just like, we gotta sacrifice, spin the wheel, Now pull the lever.
What the fuck, dude?
Boon dispensed. Boon dispensed. Boon dispensed.
Is she a little dull for a demigod, or is a Luna god?
We have no idea what a loon is, to be honest, but she's definitely something powerful.
Maybe we'll find
She's
out.
a multi-dimensional being. I mean, I would have to imagine Midnight is. Well, the problem is that you can't have a loon without talking about night elves, and there's been no mention of night elves in Midnight, so probably not this expansion. I'm thinking
What do you
whatever
mean?
this
Well, it's
middle
an elf
expansion is.
expansion. Definitely.
No,
Midnight
it's a
is.
blood elf expansion. It's different.
There might be elves from all kinds of places.
Yes, there might be, but I'm telling you, it's not going to be some major story where they did, finally figure out what a loon is. We would have seen Tyrande in the artwork. We would have seen her in the story. She would have been data mined, Tim.
Well, you don't look up anything like that. You don't know.
Yeah, but I would know. I would have a good idea. It's things that you pick up in context. But I mean, also like you can't really have a lot of that stuff without having Ajara come back. They've said Ajara is not coming back, not this expansion. But anyway, another relic soon demands your attention as this massive brazier of a loon, blackened by age but still functional, sits at the center of this ruined court. And Furin's notes describe it as a site of sacrifice where the flesh of a loon's enemies could be burned in exchange for divine favor. And as I hear more and more about these like ancient rites that Elenites seem to have practiced, more and more it makes sense why Tyrande is so ready to just fucking murder somebody. Because from a young age, they were like, if people are being bad and they're not, your allies, you can always sacrifice them for the greater good.
I mean, didn't Illidan do that?
Illidan did do that. You're not wrong.
And everyone thinks he's a monster, though.
No, everyone fucking glazes the brakes off of him. What are you talking? I mean, at least in
They used to.
the fandom. In the universe, like, the only person that still hates Illidan is probably, like, Maiev or some shit. Everyone else is like, haha, we're friends now. And then they kiss. But as you continue slaying satyrs for this, you complete this rite and continue to hunt more and more corrupted creatures throughout these windswept dunes, harvesting their remains for this grim sacrifice. And eventually you pour all of your fleshy bits into this brazier, you set it ablaze, the smoke spirals into the air, and you receive divine endowment, another of a loon's gifts flowing through you, a servant of the Horde. But that's when Furion's research leads you to another small, unassuming fountain in the sanctuary of a loon. Once used for ritual cleansing, you see that the fountain is dry and that the land seems to be wounded, and as you examine, you spot a small melon fruit growing on the roots of nearby trees, as the notes on the carvings suggest that any pure water, not just, some crazy water, as long as the intent is sincere, would do. So you're like, well, gotta go collect melons. It's life or death. So using all of these melon fruits and cracking them open to make this improvised ritual water from this land that has not seen water in many a year. You kneel, wash your face in the cracked fountain, and when you open your eyes, the world has changed. The ruins are no longer empty. Ghostly Kaldorite priestesses and sentinels glide through faded routines, tending to altars, walking in these paths, and as time itself seems to have forgotten to move forward, the past overlays with the present in a shimmering mix of reality and history. And you realize this isn't some dream. This is the loon's memory, awakened by the cleansing rite. Where you once saw desolation, you now see a holy site struggling to be remembered. But you've been charged. You're feeling good. You have more things that you got to do. So you continue to read through this journal. What was once indecipherable now unfurls with complete clarity, and the cleansing rite has changed you for good. The final entries focus on a grand structure carved into the northern cliffs of Sargeron, a ruined palace of a loon, that he believed within its shattered halls laid a tool, a relic, capable of shifting the Horde's fortunes in Desolace. And Furion was not chasing power for himself. He was seeking it as a way to drive the Alliance out of the region for the Horde. He was a real
For the Horde.
For the Horde.
He's just looking out for his people, dude.
Hey, man. He traveled across an entire continent, into 2 entire continents to come out here and stand on business. With this journal finally clear to your eyes, you ascend the northern cliffs of Sargeron, where the land seems to fall away into the wounded plains below. And you do find the shattered Palace of Elune, its marble bones jetting skyward like ribs of some fallen giant. And at its center is a towering ancient vortex runestone, still humming faintly after centuries of silence. It's the spirals, constellations, and prayers etched along its surface now read plainly to you. From Furion's final entry, you recall that the ancients viewed the gems created by this runestone as divine weapons, gifts from Elune capable of delivering them from any enemy. And the obsession that Furion began to have over all of this begins to make so much more sense to you. So you go and you activate this runestone, and from its glowing heart you pull forth the vortex gem. And a small storm humming, it's a small shard that has seeming storm that hums within it, pulsing with restrained elemental fury. The runestone's inscriptions explain that the gem is capable of unleashing a firestorm vortex, but only after being properly charged. Usually, this was awoken through years of prayer, devotion, and worship offered by Elune's faithful, but unfortunately, you're a hunter. You're not here to worship anything besides maybe the Earth Mother. So you're going to have to figure out a different way. And a new solution does seem to emerge. So you do what Furion himself seemed to have only theorized. You're going to use the gem, conjure a small, unstable firestorm, and drag it through these ghostly priestesses who walk through these ancient lands in their eternal loops. And as you confront these, you can strike them down and consume their energy into the crystal. So you do, one by one. Each fallen echo feeds the storm, the fire growing hotter, heavier, and more alive, reshaping this gem into a weapon that Furion envisioned. As the air around you vibrates with power as the vortex completes its transformation, and Furion's unspoken triumph echoes through your thoughts that the research he bled for has finally bore fruit. So you go, and then you're like, I got this crazy cool stone. What do you think I should do with it? And as if it was ever a question, you take the storm up to Nigel's Point, the major alliance stronghold that had shot down Furion as he rode over. You approach the archway that guards the outpost. There, you release the vortex with a deafening roar as this firestorm erupts, sweeping through all these defenders and merchants alike, and you strike however many seem to be present in Nigel's Point, and as the sky itself becomes a weapon, Furion's killers face the storm that he died to create, and all of it finally burns out in a way. The valley falls silent, and you return to Furion's post, telling Sorelia, hey, I did it. The Alliance, dead as fuck. Your brother, avenged. I completed his mission. Dap me up. And she greets you with a mix of grief and satisfaction and fragile calm. You have not only completed her brother's work, but enacted this vengeance, and she praises your strength, acknowledging that the storm you wielded brought peace in the end. It's an interesting way of looking at it, but all right.
Controlled fire. Is that what it was?
I don't...
Okay.
Sure, yeah, let's call it that. I would more call it a white phosphorus fucking tomahawk missile. I don't know, fucking... I wouldn't say it was exactly a contest that they were really fighting back. I mean, they were fighting back. It's just, again, it wasn't a contest. It's like Muhammad Ali versus Ella fucking Jimmy from across the way. So, but you have been given more orders. Though Furion's legacy will begin to radiate through the ruins of Sargeron, and the Centauri's will continue to remain at Furion's post, the Horde's larger Desolace campaign now demands your attention. The Burning Blade Cult. Those guys that worship the Burning Legion, I guess they still kind of kick around from here and there, and they've got this pretty sizable fortress known as Thunder Axe Fortress. And, well, that's our land. Don't forget, everything that the light touches and the shadows belongs to the Horde. So, you go. You speak with some Horde leadership, and they explain to you that one cultist in particular, a tormentor by the name of Kor, has been sending threats and boasting with every opportunity about his successes in facing off against the Horde. And Sorum, that night elf, or that blood elf that you spoke with previous, he wants him dead. He doesn't like all that shit talk. So you go to infiltrate Thunder Axe Fortress, slipping through the basalt caverns lit by fell runes and choked with the sulfurish ash. And as Kor falls beneath your blades, ending his annoying tirade, yet with his dying breath, he speaks of a coming horror.
a demon. He warns of one powerful enough to threaten the entire region. So you go back to Sorum and you're like, hey, I killed him. He said that there's a really big bad demon coming. And he's like, even if it was a bluff, we can't really risk ignoring the warning. And the Burning Blade is genuinely reckless enough to do something like this. So if that happens, we'll be the first ones to die. This can't wait. The Horde's invasion is not ready to fully face them yet. So yeah, you're going to have to lead the way, brother. So you scour this fortress. You push deeper into these caverns where these Burning Blade acolytes crawl. And you discover this ancient summoning ritual, a parchment describing a rite far more powerful than anything the cultists seemed to attempt before, and if completed would call forth a demon beyond Furion's Post's ability to contain. The solution is brutal but effective. Force the ritual to complete early. Dragging the demon into the world before it can fully anchor itself. A half-summoned demon is vulnerable, but a fully summoned one would be catastrophic. So, you collect a few more bleached skulls at the request of Sorum. You return to the summoning circle and heap 100 skulls into the ritual ground, forming a grotesque altar of stolen lives. And the moment you place the final skull, the air tears open and Nazagren, the demon core warned of, is forcibly ripped from the twisting nether, half in, half out, into the realm of Azeroth. Shrieking and angry, properly completed this ritual, this figure would have been unstoppable, but half in, half out as he is now, that's not the case. So you strike him down before he fully stabilizes into the world, and you return to Furion's Post, reporting this demon's death, and Sorum finally allows himself a moment of relief, telling you that you've diverted a serious crisis, and he gives you one final quest telling you to go and collect as many ears from any burning blade that you find, continuing about the lands to firmly establish that, hey, you guys aren't really welcome here anymore. This is our turf now. So with Furion's Post secured, the Satyr-haunted ruins subdued, and the burning blade now in check, the Alliance at Nigel's Point humbled, the wider war for Desolace begins to shift. The land is still this tapestry of wounds, and to the south lies one of the few places where healing is still actively happening. Carnum's Glade. Druids, shamans, Horde allies, as well as those of the Alliance, work to restore life to this gray, cracked earth, their leader Carnum Marshweaver maintaining this delicate balance of this reclaimed oasis. And he tells you, he's like, hey, our trolls over on the coastline there, they got this place called Shadowprey Village. They're in need of some assistance, so you should go help them out. So you begin making your way across the lands of Desolace to head over to the Shadowprey Village, where as soon as you arrive, you're given a quest. They're like, hey, there's a fucking whale out in the ocean. You look like you can handle a whale. And you're just like, fortunately for you, I am the greatest level 35 hunter since the last level 35 hunter. So I can't handle a whale. You jump into the water, you go down, you find that whale, and you fucking murder him. As Blubbergut has grown far too massive, you relieve him of existence, and you slay him, taking a sign of your prize back up to the village. Though Shadowprey's problems do not end with whales since the cataclysm, and strange creatures have been stirred from the sea below. So, that's, causing problems for trade routes. So you handle all of the things, you thin these numbers, stomping along the shorelines, kraken shells, battering claws, until this road is safe for travel once again. Though, not everyone seems to give a shit about the Horde Alliance or the Cataclysm or any of that. Also, now that I think about it, how did the Shadowprey Village survive the Cataclysm?
It was right next to the water.
Right? It's completely untouched. Darkshore was wiped off the map. The Feathermoon Outpost was wiped off the map by flooding. So, we know water hit on that coastline. I guess the trolls just genuinely did not give a shit. They're like, another world-ending catastrophe. Oh, well.
I think they were, almost below sea level, too. They're at sea level.
They're literally, they have docks and shit. They're a fishing fucking village.
Yeah.
But, apparently, their sheer chillness has pushed them through the cataclysm as this figure known as Jannar Zillan, lounging by the docks, is like, hey man, trying to do as little work as possible. I have these super special fish that took me a long time to capture, and I'll be honest, apparently I need to go get another fish and I don't want to do it. So you go bring me 5 of those fish and I'll trade you one of these cool fish. So you do this for him and he celebrates and continues to be lazy, probably smoking a fat J over on the dock there. But as you make your way out of this camp, finally finishing up any of this menial work, shall we say, Sorelia has not finished turning you into her spear point. She gazes west towards the coastline where lush green growth now intrudes upon the old desert, a wound half healed by the Cenarian Circle. And she says that we have plenty of enemies in this region, but I'll keep it above 50 with you. We got enough enemies without starting beef with the Cenarian Circle. So we actually ended up starting an agreement. You need to go and protect one of these Cenarian researchers that we promised we would look out for. And you're like, okay. So you go. You meet up.
Hey, you know how you're always telling people to listen to Tides of Lore?
Of course, I am my own biggest fan.
Well, now it's even easier. We're on Apple Podcasts, Audible, Castbox, Spotify, and YouTube.
So I can tell them wherever you listen that they can just hit subscribe or follow.
Exactly. No matter where you are, Azeroth Stories will find you.
And they're like, it's good that you've come. Everyone else in my party, dead as hell. So we're here to investigate these growing presence of Naga on the coastline here. And we've seen a real dramatic rise, shall we say. And she's like, but to be honest with you, the Cenarian Circle, they're kind of spread thin across Azeroth right now. So once again, there's no army coming. It's just you, buddy. So you make your way down into the waters that turn below, facing off against these Naga war parties and slaying all of them. And at their center, you see her, the priestess of Ajar, regal and commanding, directing her serpentine host. You recognize that the Naga cannot simply be defeated with sheer force, so you are sent to a place called Slitherblade Shore in Slit, and you begin culling the Slitherblade clan to retrieve specific materials from their ranks. Time and again, the Naga have proven to be enemies to the balance of nature, the quest giver tells you. She has no hesitation about spilling their blood, but in the truth, she says that your efforts alone cannot dent their rising numbers. That's why I got a plan for you. So you're going to descend the cliffs, you're going to meet the Slitherblade where the land meets the surf, collecting bones from their foot soldiers, shimmering scales from their sorcerers, and the fins of their warriors. And with all of this, come back to me, and I gotta play it for you. And you're like, that sounds pretty fucked up. You want me to dismember their bodies and bring it back to you? Aren't you a druid? And you're like, okay.
This druid seems mind controlled. What the heck?
No. They're enemies of our kind, Tim. You're then given this charm in your hand, and they tell you that this will allow you to infiltrate the Naga. You'll be able to speak their language and pass amongst them unnoticed. So you infiltrate the Naga, you swim among them without being exposed, and speak to the priestess of Ajara herself. You glide through these submerged ruins, and at last you reach Valishaj. Valish. God, that's all. Valisj. Valish. Radiates contempt. She barely acknowledges you, saying that don't just stand there. There's so much to do. Why are you just jorking it? Do I have to instruct everyone with every single thing to do? So she then reveals to you this critical truth, that the Slitherblade Naga are not the only force drawn to these ruins, that Neptulon's minions have arrived here. And she says, pointing to the water elementals battling along the northern shallows, and she says that they're doing all that they can to thwart us. I don't know who you are, I've never seen you again, but here's all of our biggest problems that we're dealing with right now. And she's like, anyway, take this super powerful trident and go destroy those worthless servants to the Tidehunter. And you're like, okay, yeah, cool. So she gives this to you. And to earn her trust, you go and you do this. One by one, you actually slay these servants of Neptulon. Because, I mean, Neptulon's not the worst guy, but we're also not really homies like that. So, getting an in is better. And Valij watches your progress with disdain that gradually turns into a faint, begrudging respect, saying that the enemy's ranks are thinning, and perhaps you are worthy of assisting in our search. And you're like, sir. So she finally unveils the magnum opus, the true purpose of the Naga's presence here. And she says that Queen Ajara is looking for an entrance to the plane of water. She reveals that the ruins of Desolace aren't merely a coastal encampment. They're a staging ground for a cosmic pursuit. That these ancients who once inhabited the shoreline held knowledge of the plane of water's entrance, now lost beneath the sand and surf, and we've been charged with recovering that at any cost. So she hands you a staff, another weapon capable of unleashing destructive force underwater. She says, go, break rubble apart, find the secrets that we desire. So once again, you dive beneath the waves. You uncover ancient engravings of Neptulon, and you return them to the I fucking hate this name. You return them to the leader of the Slitherblade, and her eyes widen with triumph, saying, "You found it. Good. Good." And she says, "These are Neptulons. There can be no mistake." So, with that mystery now solved, you have placed this information in their hands, but they have also unknowingly placed this information into the hands of the Cenarian Circle. And as you rise from the depths with the relics, a pulse of recognition resonates through your earlier pack with Korra as you return to Ethel Rethor and you present the ancient engravings of Neptulon. She listens to your account and examines the stone, her expression shifting from concern to vindication, saying that her visions had been true and that you have single-handedly succeeded where others fail. The Cenarian Circle will now show acknowledgement. As you are then revealed the final piece of the puzzle, while they remain in imposing force, your efforts have kept an important artifact from the Naga, but one more player battles for the coast, a water revenant who has stood nearly alone against the Slitherblade, an enemy of our enemy. So you are sent off to this location known as Raz. I hate Naga names. They're almost as bad as those goddamn Nordic names. Ranazjar.
You got it.
Ranazjar Isle, a jagged outcrop that is just off the shore, where a conflict between the water serpentine reaches its fiercest pitch. And you hope that this revenant, this ancient servant of the tides, may be able to offer you insight, an alliance, or a warning. So you are urged to find him, determine if there is some way that we can assist him in assisting us. So there, standing amidst the swirling surf and tide, tossed boulders, looms Lord Hydronus, his form sculpted of living water, and he says, "I am Hydronus, servant of Neptulon, the Tide Hunter, Lord of all the waters." And he confirms the truth behind the Slitherblade's ambition. Azshara's Naga are waging a war against his master. And the struggle here, it's just the beginning. So he admits, he's like, "I honestly don't think that me alone, I'll be able to take all these Naga. But if we unite, if we fusion, I think we can do this." So you accept his proposal. You place your hand upon his shifting body, and instantly your senses explode with elemental awareness as you ride within his elemental form, steering a body forged of pure water. These new abilities flow through you as you crush these spellcasters with tidal surges and missiles of pressurized water. Then Valish arrives herself, saying that you shall pay for all that you have done. And as this island becomes a battlefield of water and malice, it sweeps across, and you unleash this massive tidal wave, battering all of her warriors, hurling water missiles to disrupt her spells and freezing her. And with the combined might of Hydronus and yourself, you overwhelm them. As Valosh falls, her voice a bitter rasp carried on the wind, saying that you cannot save Neptulon, as she passes on to the next world, clinging to Azshara's ambitions even in her death. But he's like, "Well, that was cool. Priestess is no more. I think that went decently well." And I imagine that you're just like, "Man, I really hope you don't know that I actually killed a bunch of your dudes earlier."
He's not that bad.
He's like, details, dog, whatever, right? But yes, as you then return back, you are greeted with tired relief, saying that this is a reward for your heroic accomplishments, that you've brought us precious time in this moment. As you then are given a report that they say, take this to Karnam at the Grove, and they will know what to do. So you go. You make your way over to the Grove, where this lush greenery thrives in defiance of the desert, and you find Karnam, Marshweaver. He reads the report carefully and saying that this is alarming news, something we have no shortage of here, and he vows to call a council of the circle to address this threat. And he says that you will be summoned if you are needed as this chain comes to its end. This is where we come to the quest line that I would mainly signify is the important one in the story, the Karnam Grove. The Cenarian Circle waging a quieter war in this land, shepherding new life, soothing beasts, and shaping fresh winds, trying to renew this land. But even through that, they have enemies. So you are then explained that the oasis is spreading far faster than expected, and its green tide is pushing westward into the desert at the border where the grass meets the sand. And unfortunately, these whirlwind stormwalkers, sentient tornadoes, they don't like that. And they've been fucking with our efforts to revitalize the life here. Apparently, they don't want to die, kind of cringe if you ask me. But you know what? That's where you come in. So you're then tasked with going and dispelling all of these whirlwind stormwalkers, where the oasis is then allowed to creep further into the old wasteland. And you return, he's like, you're doing really well. This land is going to be bitchin' here in a sec. And as the Cenarian Circle's research expands, you then come across a figure known as Theresa Emberglen. Fascinated by ecological changes, she turns her attention to the newly empowered wildlife, and she asks you to help her gather blood samples west of the grove from rejuvenated thunder lizards. She hands you this bottle of leeches, and she's like, go get some blood. You're like, cool. So you go, you stick your leeches on, they get all juicy and fat, you pluck your leeches off, and you take it back to her, and she's like, that should be enough. Like, this is sick. As the rapid growth of the oasis is both stirred through their efforts and yours now. And she identifies one such unintended consequence of all of this happening, that a lot of the Kodos, near some of the other settlements nearby, the rapid changes are kind of pissing them off. So some of these guys have kind of, let's say, gone feral. And, you know, I'm a druid, so I don't really want to see these things die. But the nature in this land's going to progress. You got to go handle them. So you go, and you actually realize, hey, I don't need to murder all of these Kodos. I can craft this soothing brew from that Thunder Blizzard blood that I collected. And using that, it may be able to pacify them, and they may be able to chill out a bit. So you go, and you do this, and you give them a little bit of incense that smell like blood, I guess. And they're like, wow, this is really calming me down. And you go back to the druids, and you're like, good news. They're alive. And they're like, that's even better. Great news. As you then come across botanist Farah, who tells you to focus not on the beasts or the winds, but the plants themselves, that not all new growth is beneficial, that some of the flora that they've raised up have been twisted under the sudden ecological shift. So it is your job to go pluck some weeds. So you do. And they turn out to be these magically twisted lashers that you obviously have to kill. And you do that. And that's when she gives you a pouch of Cenarian seeds, encouraging you to take part in this miracle directly, saying that there are plenty of fertile spots all across the wildland, and you should go and plant them. Perfect medicine for lifting a weary soul. You roam through the land, pressing the seeds, and almost immediately shoots erupt, stretching upward like green sparks. And when you return, Farah is glowing, saying that the rejuvenation is so invigorating, and that this great experiment is alive thanks to you, one of its finest gardeners. But beneath this flourishing grass, Desolace has some old problems, unfortunately. You're called upon by a figure known as Garen Darkwind, who tells you, hey, we're in your debt, but I unfortunately got to involve you in another crisis. This land has changed, but also politics have changed. The demonic invaders that shattered the balance of the Centaur clans that once lived here, so that they're always warring with each other, I think we got to do something about it. So that starts with this figure right over here, and he actually gestures towards a figure he says is under the Cenarian protection, known as Khan Lepra, one of the last surviving leaders of the Kolkar's tribe of Eastern Desolace. And they regard you without hostility, saying that a vision warned us of a dream of demon legions sweeping through the lands, and that vision is reality now, that the Burning Blade have pushed the Margrim north, and in desperation the Margrim have now conquered the lands of the Kolkar, and only a handful of his people still live. So you go east to try and liberate some of these Kolkar prisoners, and at that time you are then tasked with recovering some of these stolen Cenarian supplies, suspecting the Margrim have turned to theft since this demonic invasion, seeing no need for a rule of law in this land. And you locate the Kolkar pen guarded by these brutal Margrim warden. You strike him down, and the prisoners bolt free, hooves pounding as they scatter across the sands, and you then locate all of the missing supply crates stacked beside some other stolen goods. You return, and Garen's frustration is concerned. He says that as we suspected. But Lepra bows to you, saying that his tribe would not have survived without your aid, and that this was only the first step. So Lepra believes diplomacy with the Margrim is impossible without a demonstration of power. So he lays out this plan. There's only one way to win trust and loyalty from Margrim, he says. You got to beat it out of them. Because that's historically a really good way to get people to fall into line. But he does admit, he's like, the Margrim have also suffered greatly, driven from their own lands by these demons, desperate and wounded. you are handed the spear of the Kolkar clan. And when you are ready, you are sent riding a Kolkar warrior into the heart of Magrum territory, where you find yourself at this towering Father Stone, and you plant the spear, and instantly a bunch of other Kolkar warriors materialize, intercepting charging waves of the Magrum defenders, and you stand your guard at the Father Stone, cutting down anyone who reaches for the symbol of the Kolkar dominance. If the spear falls, the Kolkar will lose, and if it stands, the Magrum will listen. So
wait, you ride
when
a
they're-
Kolkar?
yeah.
Don't we hate? I guess we team up with some of them. But I don't know. It just seems weird. We kill so many in Classic.
But yes, when their Khan Kama finally yields the show of strength at the Father Stone, you then deliver food, and you deliver the truth of the demonic threat upon him. And he says that it would seem we have no choice, and as reluctant as he is to cooperate with the Kolkar, there is wisdoms in the word of their Khan. So he tells you, give them my word that we shall lend our spears should you need them. And he's like, all right, that's two for two. We stay up. Now you got to go get one more, the Gelkis, which is another tribe. And he's like, the Gelkis, they're in the southwest, and unlike the Magrum, they're gonna be stubborn. Like, their Khan, he's old and a war veteran, and he rarely leaves his lair. And I don't think even if you were to stand there and fight all day, he would come out to face you. So you're like, there's only one thing that we can truly do to humble him. You need to go and kill all 3 of his children. And he's like, I admit, it's an extreme show of force, but after that, he'll have no choice but to fall in line. So you're like, 30 silver?
Let's do it.
Sure.
Are we the bad guys?
So you ride into the Red Rock Canyons of Gelkis territory. You seek out each prince and strike down Roho, bellowing orders to his warriors, Sharik, elite guards, and Joreth stalking as he approaches Shoto's cave, and one by one, you strike them down, shattering the backbone of Gelkis pride. I guess that's one way to describe ending a generation. And by the time you descend into Shoto's cave, the clan already knows what you've done. The old Khan waits inside, not fleeing, not fighting, simply saying, my sons, all slain, my clan in ruins. And he just says, if I were in my youth, I would tear you limb from limb. Go now, kill me or leave me to mourn alone. But instead of striking him down, you're just like, hey, this other Khan, Lee Pra, the Kolkar, yeah, you know how you hate them? They had a vision about how the Burning Blade and their demons would drive us all from these lands. So we need to unite. And he's just like, maybe. I still hate you because, you killed all 3 of my children just now. But maybe there's a thread of hope that remains. So he initially rejecting your plea, saying that it doesn't matter what becomes of this land. He says there is one thing left in this world that maybe could bring hope. And he admits that his daughter, Kara, was captured by the Maradine, enemies of the Gelkis. And if she still lives somewhere in their northern territory and you can bring her back alive, that he will consider your proposal. So you ride north to the Valley of Spears, where you find the Maradine Maulers. And you start cutting them down. Clean in house as you make your way, hoping to find clues of the location, where as you slay these enemies, you come across a prisoner manifest, this scroll that lists all of their captives and their locations, and Kara's name appears. Next to it, one phrase seals your next task. It says, behind the doors to Marudon. So in that moment, you know that to secure the Gelkis Alliance, you must enter Marudon, the sacred canyon where the legacy of Zader and Theradras twists into living stone and corrupted nature as you ride towards its massive entrance, where the Maradine guards stand watch, determined to keep any prisoners or intruders out. You fight your way deeper inside, and pushing past... Milk, stop being a fat bitch! Cool. And deep within the cave, you find yourself making your way into a side chamber where you... Get down. Fat bitch. Fat fucking bitch. Fat motherfucker.
Wow. Are you gonna leave him?
Maybe I will. Maybe Milk shouldn't be so fat. I looked back at him and said that, and he literally looked back at me and went, Meh. But you make your way into a side chamber where, chained and watched by the captors, you find Kara, daughter of Khan Shoto, and you cut down the guards, break her chains as she rises slowly, and you begin to escort her to the safety of the entrance. And as you do complete this, taking her to safer ground, the Gelkis have lost 3 princess, but their princess walks free once again, and this rescue is more than a political victory. It is a restoration of dignity, of the future of his clan. And through this, while you're beginning to escort her out, you actually end up finding this broken relic, which you realize is actually a relic that belongs to the Gelkis. And you're like, well, this will only help my cause. You know, the Maradine have apparently been defiling these sacred relics for a very long time. So you collect all of these sacred relics and begin making your way back across the lands of Desolace. But not all of the dangers in the Valley of Spears are some ancient grudges that involve some crazy elaborate schemes. Sometimes it's just goblins, right? Near the encampment, you find Melissa Brimbuzzle surrounded by these Maradine, and moments from becoming dinner, she shouts for you to get her out of there, so you do. And she says, I came to talk with the Maradines. I thought I could do a little bit of business, but they don't want to talk, and they think that they can eat me, so please get me out of here too. So you do that. You get them out of there as well. And with all of that, she sprints ahead to go and meet up with her other fellow goblins. One in particular is one by the name of Horniz. And Horniz, of course, has his own angle, which he wants you to help out with. He has this, points you to this area known as the Valley of Bones, this haunted area, basically a graveyard for the Centaur, haunted by these restless spirits of fallen Magrum. And they're like, sounds scary, doesn't it? Well, think about how scary it is to the Magrum. So what I want you to do is go over there, set up some traps, and catch a bunch of their dead ghosts. And with that, I can then take it over to the Magrum and threaten to either release this ghost on them or they can pay me. And you're like, that sounds very ethical. I will do this for you. So you go, you collect all of these spirits and turn them into what is known as ghostoplasm. Indefinitely a reference to Ghostbusters.
This quest sucked in Classic.
This quest, dude, back in the hardcore add-on, this was so
this
scary.
would kill people. You skipped this one.
Yep. I mean, it was doable on a mage because they didn't have any casters, so
it just kept coming, dude. You'd run out of mana.
And this is nothing but a new commodity for the goblins to exploit, as it does seem a little bit unethical that the ancestors of restless spirits have now been distilled into basically a trade good. But once freed from Marudon, Kara listens to your account of Lipra's prophetic visions and encroaching demon crisis and speaks with clarity of someone who has seen enough suffering to know what truly matters, and says that I agree with the words of the Kolkar Khan, and it is time for these ancient grudges to come to an end. That it is time to focus our efforts on the demonic invasion force. So you return to Lipra and you're like, hey, we got them. We got everybody. And all of these Centaur warmongers are battling the Burning Blade nearby, and you go to deliver Kara's promise. And solemnly they're like, cool, like you've done super well. And not a moment too soon, for the first time in generations, the Kolkar, Magrum, and Gelkis are all aligned. The crescent of the Centaur clans, fractured for centuries, now stands to fight together. The air around this land crackling with fellfire and anticipations, as the demons are not waiting. Lipra knows that the clans cannot either. So it is time for war. You leading Lipra as well as the other Centaur into battle amongst this burning wreckage of a location known as Shok Takar. Green fell flames reflecting in their eyes. You charge into the fiery chaos. Burning Blade warlocks chant fell incantation. Doom guards stride through the collapsed ruins, and through all of this, a united Centaur surge forward like a living storm. From the saddle that you ride atop this Centaur commander, you direct the assault with precision. You hurl weapons into enemy ranks, issue attack orders, and unleash your riders. As you rally support and summon reinforcements as needed, together your warband cuts through the Burning Blade like a scythe. And it all leads to one figure known as Priestess Thandaris, a powerful leader among the cult. The Centaur fight with the fury of people who have believed in a future worth defending. As Thandarissa falls, the moment shifts, and they then declare, let us finish this. As the battle turns, a great demon general commands the field. And the final stage for the Centaur uprising erupts into death to Agoridon? Agoridon. Hell yeah, nailed it. Death, as Lepra's voice breaks into a steady but burning with purpose, saying that our goal is within sight. We can break the will of the demon army, bringing down the one who leads them. If we succeed, Desolace will be ours. And the leader, Agorigdon, Agogrigdon, this massive demon commanding these burning legion forces, is at the heights of the Shadowbreak Ravine, as Lepra says that when you are ready, lead a group of our centaurs through the pass, and together we will gather all the clans and meet you there. So you thunder through the ravine, the flames and fell energy staining every stone, and before you stands Agorigdon, towering, armored, eager for blood. A familiar voice rises across the ridge, Lepra charging in, shouting, "Sons of Cenarius, unite!" And moments later, all of the cons from all of the Magrum and the Gelkis arrive alongside, leading warriors of their clans. And for the first time in pretty much anyone's living memory at this point, all three Centaur clans fight side by side, and you coordinate this assault as well. And surrounding the demon on all sides, he begins to falter beneath a unified storm of hooves, steel, and magic. And when Agorigdon finally crashes to the ground, fellfire guttering from his wounds, the ravine falls silence, Lepra lifting his spear, proclaiming victory that the clans have always dreamed of, that the demons are no more, and the demons shall never again hold these lands. And as you return to Shok Takar, the transformation is stunning. Burning blade banners have vanished, demonic fires have gone cold, and the Centaur Guardians now patrol the village with disciplined unity of all three clans together. The fractured tribe of Desolace, once enemies locked in this endless war, now share a common purpose, uniting the tribes. But now that you've united all of the Centaur clans, you've been called back to the Cenarian Grove, as you have been given one final task. You meet up with Karn and Marshweaver. He's like, "Hey, I need you to go talk with this Forsaken by the name of Marin Bonesplitter." Apparently they're holding this line where there's some remaining demons that are presenting a small problem, but they have a few ideas, so you need to go help them out. So you waste no time. You make your way over there, and you first meet an orc by the name of Felger, and he's like, "The demons are on the move. If nothing is done, we'll be overrun in weeks. So you need to go, and you need to buy us some time." So you descend into this coven where this fell storms are churning and these infernals are crashing into blazing heaps. You are then tasked with destroying them, scattering their cores, and smothering the legion's movement in this area. As you return back, the threat at Manarok Coven deepens. Felger thrusts a warp-pulsed artifact into your hand, saying, "It is the hand of Iruxos. And he says that I got one from the Burning Blade leaders myself." And he tells you that with all of these demons coming in, we need to find out where, because before this wasn't happening. So you need to go back into that coven and you use that artifact to go collapse all these portals. So you push deep, you dodge all these fell guards and more infernals as you slay them and overload these portals, preventing the demon from continuing to make their push in through here. But that is where one of these infernals falls, and you find yourself extracting an infernal power core that is humming with a strange, staggering, volatile energy. And gazing into this, you see a vision, yourself commanding infernal power, turning demonic fury against the demons themselves, and the quest texts frame it simply: this can be used against them. So you take it over to a warlock, Jukhar Grimrod, and he's like, "Yeah, we can go plug that in to this towering infernal that we actually know is like been inactive over there, and it will listen to your commands." And you're like, "That's a great idea. I can't see how this could possibly go wrong." So you plug this demon core into this massive demon lord, and everything actually goes pretty great. You then control this demon to go and just raise shit throughout the rest of this Burning Blade encampment, and the Legion reels once again. Marin Bonesplitter saying that as fate would have it, there is a special deed that needs doing. And you're like, Forsaken saying that there's a special need that needs doing? I don't see how this could possibly go wrong. But he's like, "Hey, I've been under pressure by, well, let's just not say by who, to make some sort of new concoction that we can use against the Naga. And I think the perfect ingredient I need for this is some of these hollow Kodo horns." So you go and collect all of these hollow Kodo horns, and he fills each with this swirling toxic mixture and gives them to you. And then he's like, bring these over to Karnam. It's up to him now how he wants to use these. So you take it over to the Druids again, and you're like, I was told to give you these. You are then explained that the Naga remain a serious, immediate threat, that their forces are amassing a nearby ravine and a large-scale assault, and that the time has come to drive them back into the sea. And he invades that they got all these sirens and invaders, and they've even brought some sea giants that are preparing to march inland. So when you're ready, Grimfeather is, I imagine it's a hippogriff, I actually don't remember, will take you to the crevasse where they're preparing this assault, and you're going to throw Marin's concoction in there. And we're just going to see what happens. So you climb on this hippogriff, you soar into the ravine, and the surf forming below. Grimfeather dives, banking low over the Naga banners as the giant's footprints carve into the sand from the cliffside. As you do aerial passes, you deploy Marin's toxic horn bombs, detonating the Forsaken's brew amid these tightly clustered Naga formations. The slimy vapor erupts, choking through their ranks as elemental shockwaves rip through the surface. You destroy all of the invaders, sirens, and sea giants, unraveling the core of their offensive as the Naga's line collapses into disarray from your aerial bombardment. As you return to the Karnam Grove, marking your final turn in Desolace's transformation, Grimfeather sets you down amid the bright grass, humming insects, and a far cry from the dead sands that once defined this entire region. Karnam meets you with the air of a druid who has seen the tide shift at last, and he tells you that your actions have broken the Naga assault, validated Marin's experiment, and secured the Grove's vulnerable coastline. He tells you a genuine respect that your deeds continue to impress me, and that you will always be a friend of the Cenarian Circle. But that is just another zone, so as you are then tasked with making your way further south into Feralis, that is where we'll call our episode for the day.
Feralis.
Yep. You know,
Why don't we just kill all the Centaur?
well, they're our allies now. Why would we do that?
What have they done that's been good?
Well, I mean, there are good ones in Dragonflight.
I guess you're right.
Yep. And apparently these guys exist again, though. They just get the ogre treatment where they're like, the Centaur? No. Never heard of them. But yeah, no, when I was first getting ready to write up these episodes, like as you've noticed, we've done like multiple zones for a lot of these. And usually I would have had us like move into Feralis, and ideally I was like, we'll just finish up Kalimdor and then we can move over to Eastern Kingdoms and start talking about maybe Defias stuff and whatnot. But this place changed a lot, like a lot, which is really interesting because like I think before in Classic it had a lot of quests. It was just not a fun place to be in.
True. And now
and
it's
now
beautiful.
It has a bit more, and now it has like a lot more of an intricate storyline about you uniting all of these clans that back in Classic you were actively like choosing which clan you wanted to just fuck up the other clan.
Right.
So, you know, it's got that, ties into the Burning Legion stuff, which I feel like in Classic, like, basically was just like a Warlock questing zone, if I remember correctly. It's like where you would do some of your Warlock quest stuff. But outside of that, it was just like, kill a couple Doom Guards. I don't know. So it is good to see it kind of all tied together in a bit more of a cohesive fashion. There are some things that I'm, like, really interested that they did end up keeping, like the Troll Village. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't have anything against the Troll Village, but one, how did it survive? Two, what purpose does it really serve? They're just out there vibing. They don't contribute to the story. Kind of same with the goblins.
They're fishermen.
Like, yeah. And I guess that just for world building sake, there's nothing wrong with that.
You need a fisher. You need a come on. How else are we getting fish for the horde?
They have the same village in the hinterlands. It's like literally the exact same village.
More fish.
But yeah, I was really pleasantly surprised to see how much Desolace has changed, and I don't think I've really heard anyone talk about it because, I mean, again, no one really wants to talk about Desolace.
Well, now it's okay. I like Desolace.
And
now.
I was really pleasantly surprised. I think so far out of all of the zones that we've talked about being changed from their versions from Classic 2 or from Vanilla rather 2, their Cataclysm versions, I think this is probably the best one that we've encountered so far.
Yeah, I would agree.
Stone Talon kind of, I mean, Ashenvale kind of
Stone Talon's
Talon kind of competes.
Ashenvale's the same, dude. It's not that different.
It is. Well, no, because it's like the actual war campaign. Like in Classic, it's just like you're skirmishing with each other. It's essentially like a Warsong Gulch on a bigger scale. But when you do it in Cataclysm, it's like an actual campaign where you've claimed this land. Like seeing Horde banners in Astronar is insane to me. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just glazing too hard. Who knows? But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by this. I was really surprised by how long it is. There is almost 100 quests strictly for the Horde. We didn't even talk about the Alliance side in Desolace. So, yeah. But yes, that is all that we have to. Do you want to talk about anything else before we hop off? Say anything else?
No, we've been doing it.
Sounds good. But yes, if you guys did make it this far and you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you drop us a like, a comment, a subscribe. Hey, head over to the Patreon. We're going to start setting up our, well, at this point, while this is released, the Discord should be out. You should be able to join up with that as well. Get into the Tides of Lore guild over on Retail Moonguard. Tides of Lore.
And join the stream. Come on,
yes,
watch me play hardcore. Holy moly.
We're now on multi-streaming on all platforms. We're on Twitch. We're on Kick. We're on fucking TikTok. If that's really how you want to consume your streaming content, we are there. So, check us out on all that. YouTube, as always, of course. If you're over on Spotify, if you could drop us a 5-star rating or a follow if you haven't already, that would be so amazing. You guys have been killing it over there. Again, I mentioned it last week, but the growth has been kind of blown up, and it's really been awesome. So thank you so much. Even though Spotify didn't get an episode last week, that still happened. So thank you. Check out the Patreon, and we'll see you guys next week. Happy Thanksgiving, or Merry Thanksgiving, or whatever the fuck.
Oh yeah, have a good Thanksgiving.
Yeah, eat a lot. Do your duty. Eat. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this episode. Your guys' support truly means the world to us. If you're interested in hearing more, we have our full show on YouTube and Spotify, new episodes dropping every Tuesday. I also want to take this moment to give a special thank you to Fantasy Lo-Fi for providing the music for this episode. You can find them on YouTube at Fantasy Lo-Fi or on Spotify under Bits and Hits. Be sure to show them some love, as their music does truly bring this journey to life. Once again, thank you for joining us on Tides of Lore, and we will see you next week.